watching News with Q. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are down to our news segment where Q keeps us updated on what's going on in our world and where he watches the news so you don't have to. Husband, my fine chocolate baby, baby's daddy, what do you have for us?
Well, I have a couple interesting stories. One is actually both of them are kind of a follow-up from our last one, kind of concentrating on voting. So this past week, federal court, they have put down a ruling which actually threatens the Voting Rights Act as a whole. So it was last Monday, I believe, it was a federal panel of judges. They heard a case from the Arkansas State NAACP about the gerrymandering in Arkansas. And believe it or not, what these jokers had said is that as private citizens, we no longer have the right to bring forth cases that are about voting rights. So the only person they feel that can bring about cases about voting rights is the U.S. Attorney General.
So what do we as regular people do when we feel like when something is what do we do?
Pretty much they're saying that there's no remedy for us. So again, the only person that can bring a case in regards to voting rights, they have determined is just U.S. Attorney General, which is Merrick Garland, which he would do that. But if we were under the last administration, there's no way in the world that those attorney generals would do that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So this case actually affects Arkansas, Iowa, Minnesota, Missouri, Nebraska, North Dakota, and South Dakota. But they believe that this would actually have such a big effect on the rest of the country that this is most likely going to make its way up to the Supreme Court. So, essentially, it's kind of crazy because there's a lot of voting rights groups out there that file on behalf of everyday citizens like me and you.
Right.
Because the Department of Justice, they just don't have time.
Right.
Nor do they have the resources to go after every case. And so they have kind of taken up the slack. But obviously these judges believe that, we don't have the right to fight for our right to vote. So, I wanted to definitely bring that to everybody. And so it's not over, but as of now, it does stand until it gets appealed. And most likely it's going to end up in the Supreme Court.
Pray and vote, y'all.
And while we're sticking to voting, so this next story here, it's an interesting one. So as we've been talking about voting, there is a parish in Louisiana. It's Cato Parish. And there was a election for sheriff. So it's kind of crazy because we always hear people that say, hey, my vote doesn't count, or, nobody's paying attention, or I don't ever get, what I'm supposed to get in voting. But in this particular one, the gentleman who won sheriff, he won by one vote.
I told you your vote counts.
One vote.
Shut your mouth. Are you serious?
One vote.
Get yourselves out there and vote.
So obviously that has triggered a recount. And so the gentleman who lost by one vote, his name is John Nicholson. And he was going up against Henry Whitehorn Sr., and Mr. Henry actually was the head of the Louisiana State Police Department.
Wow.
He also was a U.S. Marshal, so he has an extensive resume.
Right.
In order to qualify him to be sheriff for this particular parish. Now, for Mr. Nicholson, ask me how much law enforcement experience this gentleman has.
How much does Mr. Nicholson, how much law experience does he have?
You sounded really slow there.
I meant to.
Zero.
What?
He's an attorney. He has zero law enforcement experience.
Why do
people think that they can just
jump in? Jump in another area that they never even
That
work
goes
in.
on a whole nother subject as far as, privilege some people have to think that they can just do whatever.
Right.
And that they don't have to have qualifications.
Wow.
It's just because who they are and because they think that they had enough experience in their previous job that, hey, I'm a lawyer. Now I'm sure I could be sheriff.
Oh my God, they
You know,
probably do.
But sheriff typically is kind of a political position.
Right, right.
But still, you want somebody who understands law enforcement, how to do community policing,
Absolutely.
to, obviously be able to relate to their officers that they're in charge of.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But here's the crazy thing. So there was a recount, okay? Or there's a recount that's going to be triggered for this one vote. But this gentleman says that he wants them to have a whole new vote.
Oh, they ain't nobody finna do that, are they? What? Who he think he is?
Not just a recount. He wants a whole new vote.
Like a whole new voting session?
He wants a second
Boy,
runoff.
bad. Boy, you talk about privilege and superiority.
Yeah. So now here's the thing is, in Louisiana, they are using very old voting machines.
Okay.
And there is no paper backup for these.
Oh.
These machines they bought in 2005.
Oh.
Yeah. So there's no paper backup. And so there's no way for them really to know. Now, of course, the Louisiana Secretary of State says that, their elections are secure, which I believe they are.
Right, right.
But there's no paper ballot backup.
Wow.
So the only thing they can really recount is the absentee ballots that were sent in.
Right.
So that's what they're going to do. They're going to recount those. So,
Bruh, you lost.
yeah, he just can't take that. He lost.
Yeah,
He
you
just can't take
lost,
that.
Doc.
He lost. So,
Yeah.
Yep. So that's all I've got for you today.
Very, very interesting, husband. You always keep us updated on what's going on in the world, and thank you for watching the news so we don't have to. You're watching News with Q.